home, your dog listens. They can sit, down, come, stay, they've got it. But when you go to the park or a new place or a squirrel runs by, all the training suddenly disappears. They completely ignore you. It's frustrating, it's embarrassing. If that sounds familiar, this video will show you exactly why that happens, how to fix it step by step, and I'll give you examples with real untrained dogs throughout the video so that your dog will listen even around distractions. So why does this happen? Why does your dog listen sometimes but completely ignore you other times? Well, your dog isn't being stubborn or difficult, and they didn't forget the training either. The reason is actually very simple, and I'll give you an example to help you understand. So imagine this is you. And in front of you, there are two paths. You've got this path, and you've got this path. Now, at the end of each path, there's something waiting for you. On this side, there is $1. And on this side, there is 100. Which path would you choose to walk down? This is not a trick question. Hopefully, if you are a rational human, you would walk down this path. The reason you would walk down that path is because the perceived reward of walking down this path is greater than walking down this path. Miles, how does this relate to dog training? Well, your dog is the same. Your dog, just like you, is rational. They're gonna choose whichever path leads to the greatest perceived reward for them in the moment. And in real life, it looks something like this. So over here, we've got you in distress. And over here, we've got something else that your dog likes. Let's use, for this example over here, we've just got another dog. And here's what happens. You, in distress, tell your dog, you give your dog a command. You tell your dog to do something that they know. Come. And your dog has two paths. This path leads to this. You know, you might give him a little treat. You might give him a little pat on the head. Good boy. That happens every day though. About $1. But on this path, they could just choose to not come and just go play with this other dog, which for them, it would be like very rewarding, and that's like $100. And when you lay it out like this, it becomes very obvious why your dog wouldn't listen to you. They're not being stubborn or difficult on purpose or anything like that. It would just be irrational for them to listen in this setup. Why would they? They're gonna do whichever leads to the highest perceived reward for them in the same way that you would. And you might be thinking, oh my gosh, it's hopeless. I'm never gonna be as good as those other dogs or the smells or the squirrels or those other people. Is it hopeless? Is my dog just never gonna listen to me around those things? Don't worry, we've got a solution. Let's imagine we're at the park with our dog. There are other dogs around, there's smells, there's people, there's squirrels that they can go and chase, whatever. You know, you understand as a human that you are not gonna be able to compete with this. You know, the treats that you have in your pocket, whatever, the ball that you have in your pocket, your praise, your affection, it's not gonna be able to compete with this. You're not gonna be able to make this more desirable than this. So, what do? Well, you give your dog the command, and your dog chooses, I would rather not listen and just go and do this thing. So they walk down this path. Now what you do as a human is you attach a consequence. Imagine you imposed a $100 fine right there. And then the dog said, I think I'm gonna keep going down this path. And they go down the path. And you impose another $100 fine. And they go, I don't know, I think I'm gonna keep going down the path. And you impose, yet again, another $100 fine. Then the dog thinks, again, rational being here, this path isn't leading to the reward I thought it was gonna lead to. I thought it was gonna lead to like this really good thing that I thought was gonna happen, but like so far it's not turning out that way. It's not looking so good for me right now. And then what did they decide to do? Let's stop going down this path because this is clearly not leading to anything desirable for me. let's get off this path, let's escape this path, and let's hop back on this path. I think this path is gonna be like way better. And they go down this path, and then they get this reward. Now, here's where things get crazy. Next time, your dog is in the same situation, so they just did that, and that didn't lead to anything good. They had to escape and then come back on this path, right? Next time, your dog is put in that same situation. Guess what happens? You tell your dog to come. Your dog considers the options. I know that thing is over there, but last time I did that didn't work out so well for me. It didn't work out well. I thought it was gonna lead to this really good thing, but it actually led to something bad, like worse than the thing I would have got. And so instead of going down that path, I'm gonna not go down that path. I'm going to avoid going down that path, and I'm actually just gonna go down this path instead and just get this reward. And then they come down this path and they get the reward. That led to something pretty good for me, pretty desirable. Guess what? Next time this happens, the dog has now this experience to go off, and same thing. You tell your dog to come, there's this option, but last time I did this, it was good. So let's avoid going down this path again and simply go down this path again and get the reward that's here for me. Following? This concept is how you get dogs to listen around distractions. It's how you get dogs to do stuff even when they would rather do something else. Now this is sort of the beginner 101 explanation. Now I'm gonna give you the more advanced 201 explanation. When you want the dog to do something, you want them to come, sit, down, heel. These are all behaviors that you want the dog to do. You are using reinforcement. Reinforcement is something that increases the frequency of a behavior. Something happens and it makes it more likely that that behavior repeats. Now there are two types of reinforcement. If you're into dog training, you've probably heard of positive reinforcement, but it also has a brother, negative reinforcement. Positive simply means to add. It doesn't mean good, it just means to add something. Negative, it doesn't mean bad, it just means to remove or subtract. So positive means to add, negative means to remove or subtract. So if we define these, positive reinforcement means we adding something was added, which increased the frequency of a behavior. Negative reinforcement, something is removed, which increased the frequency of a behavior. You see, so they achieve the same thing just by different means. Positive, you add something, negative, something is removed. So if we go back to this example, you can see how these pieces will start to fit. Here, you're probably familiar with this. You've probably taught many of your behaviors, if you're into dog training, you've probably taught a lot of the behaviors initially using positive reinforcement. Adding something to increase the frequency of a behavior, right? You tell your dog to sit, and they sit, and then you give them a treat. Tell your dog to come, and they come, and you give them a treat. Or you give them some praise and affection, or you give them the ball. You see, you're adding something to increase the frequency of that behavior. Now, negative reinforcement. And this is something that a lot of people don't quite understand, but it's exactly what we were describing here. Remember in the beginning when we had the dog go down this path and they started getting hit with these fines and penalties along the way, and then they escaped this path and came over here, and then in the future they avoided going down this path again? That is negative reinforcement learning. It's also known as escape and avoidance learning, right? So in this situation, the dog learned that when they do this, there is something undesirable that is occurring. Something aversive is the technical term, but something undesirable is occurring, and they can escape it, so they can turn it off, they can escape it if they just get off that path and come back on this path. That's the escape part of negative reinforcement learning. Now the next part is the avoidance piece. In the future, the dog learns, I'm just gonna like not do that, and I'm just gonna avoid going down this path and just go down this path instead. That is negative reinforcement learning in a nutshell. Let me give you some human examples just to help all of this sink in. Have you ever been to the beach on a really nice sunny day and the sand is beautiful and you're like, wow, I bet it would feel so good on my feet. And so you walk in the sand barefoot. And at first it feels nice, sand in between your toes. But then it starts getting kind of hot. And then it starts getting really hot. And then it's like, oh my gosh, my feet are burning right now. What do? You put on your sandals. Behavior. Then that pain that you're feeling, the burning sensation on your feet, goes away. The behavior of wearing your sandals on the beach has been negatively reinforced. You decided to walk barefoot, burning, aversive. You escape that aversive stimulus by performing a behavior, putting on the sandals. That aversive stimulus goes away, so now you're out of there. Now you're walking down this path, aka walking with sandals on the beach. And next time, you avoid going down this altogether. You avoid going down that path. So next time, you just wear sandals through the sand. See how the behavior was negatively reinforced there? The removal of that aversive stimulus increased the behavior of you wearing sandals on the beach. Or like how when you get in the car and you forget to put on your seatbelt and it's like ding, 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 aversive stimulus. And then you're like, okay, put on my seatbelt. And you escape from the behavior of putting on the seatbelt. You escape that aversive stimulus and then you just avoid it next time. You're like, all right, I get in the car and I just put on my seatbelt. I just avoid that entirely. Positive reinforcement gets a lot of attention in the dog training world, and rightfully so, it's very important. But negative reinforcement, this is the powerhouse of what drives behavior. If you look at everything that we do as humans on an everyday basis, all of the behaviors that we regularly perform, most of what we do, we are more motivated to avoid bad stuff than we are to get good stuff. Everything from I wear socks around the house so my feet don't get cold. I take a shower so I don't feel dirty. I brush my teeth so my breath doesn't stink. I drink water when I'm thirsty. I eat when I'm hungry. When it's hot in the house, I turn on the AC. You see, we're more motivated to avoid bad stuff from happening than we are to get good stuff. And it's the same with the dog. It's just that a lot of people don't understand negative reinforcement and how to apply it to dog training. But the secret sauce in dog training is when you combine the positive reinforcement with the negative reinforcement. That's how you get a super durable, super reliable behaviors, when you combine those two things together. So you're probably wondering at this point, okay, Miles, this sounds great. I get it. I'm on board. How do I do it? How do I negatively reinforce a behavior? How do I do this right here? Well, it's very simple. The first thing is identify what your dog finds aversive. This. You need to find something that your dog does not like. It can literally be anything. The only requirement is that it has to be safe. So it should go without saying that you shouldn't do anything that will injure the dog. It has to be safe. It has to be easy. If it's too complicated, you're not going to do it. And it has to be clear. So it has to be clear to the dog. It has to make sense. You can use a leash, flat collar, slip lead, prong collar, e-collar, your spatial pressure, your voice, your hands, anything. Anything your dog finds aversive. That's what you need to use. And if you're like, Miles, my dog likes everything, there's something your dog finds aversive. I promise you. Now, for us, how we train, we're typically going to use the leash and the prong collar and the e-collar. Now, obviously, if you're watching this, don't be an idiot. If you have no idea what you're doing and you've never used any of these things before and you don't have any guidance, work with the trainer so that they can coach you through the process. All right? So that's step one. Step two, teach the dog how to escape the pressure in the context of obedience. So you have a bunch of various obedience commands: come, sit, down, heel, place, whatever. And what we do is in the very beginning of teaching the behavior, we're using positive reinforcement for sure, like we're gonna add something to increase the frequency of the behavior, but we also use negative reinforcement in the beginning stages as well to show the dog how to escape the pressure. Now, we're not using a lot of pressure here in the beginning, just enough to where it's a little bit uncomfortable, and then we show the dog what to do, how to turn it off, and then once they perform that behavior, it goes away. And the dog's like, oh, got it. When I feel this, a little uncomfortable, then I do this, and it goes away. Oh, that's how it works. So you're just teaching them how to escape the pressure in the context of each command that you want them to do. This is one of the very first training sessions that I ever did with Arrow. In this session, we're teaching him how to sit, down, and place all in the same session. And you're gonna see how I use a combination of positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement in the very beginning stages of teaching the behavior. So remember, positive reinforcement means we're adding something to increase the frequency of the behavior. That's what I'm using very heavily in the very beginning, the first half of this session, right? Lots of food, lots of praise. I am mostly just food luring him around. You can see there I'm pulling my hand up to get him into the sit. I'm luring him over to the place command. I'm using my body a lot as well. We're making it fun. We're keeping it dynamic. The first half of the session, we're very, very heavy on the positive reinforcement, but you'll see on the second half of the session, I start layering in the negative reinforcement to each of the behaviors.
Good. Okay. Good. Down. Chip. Good. Okay. Down. Chip. Nice. Place. Good. Okay. Down. Chip. Nice. Nice job, man. Nice job. Place. Good. Okay. Down. 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 Uh-huh. Chip. Nice, buddy. Very good. So the level of pressure I was using, guys, was so light, and you could see like he's kind of like I don't know about that, right?
So you can see that I made pressure downwards on the leash, then I gave the command and he licked my face immediately. I did not release the pressure. If I release the pressure there, guess which behavior I negatively reinforced? Licking my face. He needs to learn that the only way to turn off the pressure is by getting into a down. Here I come in with the food lure because we just practiced that and he knows the food lure into the down. So I come in with the food lure, I'm maintaining the leash pressure still, and the moment he gets into the down, I mark with chip, which is my reward marker. I release the pressure and then now I am rewarding him with food and praise. So you can see there how I'm combining the negative reinforcement with the positive reinforcement to show the dog how to escape the pressure. When I'm working with the dog, especially in the very beginning, I generally try to go very, very heavy on the positive reinforcement and use very low levels of pressure to negatively reinforce the behavior.
I'm gonna pay this super heavy. Good job, buddy. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Place. Good boy. Okay. Down. Chip. Good. Level of pressure, guys, so light. So light. I'm not trying to overwhelm the dog. I'm not trying to force the dog down. I just want him to feel it as he goes down. That's it. Okay. Good boy. Stepping on your leash. Place. Good. Okay. Down. Chip. Good. Good job. Good job, buddy. Nice. Nice. Okay. Place. Good. Okay. Down. Chip. Good. Very good. Very good. Nice. Good. Okay. Down. Chip. Good. Very nice, buddy. Very nice. Good job, man. Good job. Very good. Okay. 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 Yeah, buddy. Nice. Good job. Please. Nice. Okay. Sit. Down. Chip. Good. So you see, like the level of pressure is literally so light. All I want today is I just want him to feel it on his way down. That's it. That's it. And then tomorrow, okay, I will place. Chip. Good. Tomorrow, I will just make the pressure, right? With no lure or anything, okay? Sit. Chip. Good. All right, I've been neglecting my pressure to sits. Okay, place. Good. Okay. Here we go, just pressure. Chip. Nice, man. Nice, man. Very good. Good shot, buddy. Place. Good. Okay. Down. Chip. Good. That's it, guys. So light. So light. So light, but so good. So good. He just feels it on his way down, right? And then he feels it go away on his way down. I'm not forcing him down. I'm not dragging him down. Super light levels of pressure, right? I'm gonna pay this heavy.
So in this session, you saw how I start teaching pressure to positions using food as the positive reinforcer, but you can also use play as the positive reinforcer. So this is just arrow the next day, and we just went out, same exact thing, just pressure to positions, but in the context of play. So here I was in the process of teaching him how to play, so I'm kind of hitting two birds with one stone here. But if your dog doesn't like play or they don't like food, that's okay. You can just use their release command, their break or okay command, and just release them from the behavior. So you can see here how I'm doing pressure to sits, pressure to downs, pressure to plays, and then I'm using the ball and the play with me as the positive reinforcer. So if your dog loves to play, that's great. You can use it to train pressure to positions. All right, so now that your dog knows the command, they know what the word means, they know how to get there with the food lure, they know how to get there with just leash pressure, they know it, they've got it. Now what we do is step 3, gradually increase distractions and increase the pressure whenever your dog makes a mistake, which they should in the teaching process, to reach escape and avoidance levels. So now that we've taught Arrow pressure to positions in the training and he knows the verbals, he knows the pressure and all that, now we can start giving him the command out on walks itself. And we can enforce the command, we can negatively reinforce the command if he doesn't listen. So now if we tell him to SIT and he decides, I'm too busy, I'm looking at everything else in the environment, all we have to do is pull up, good, and then release the pressure, right? Okay. Or if we tell him to DOWN and he doesn't, all we have to do is pull down. Good boy. Good job, right? And then he hits the position, okay? So now we have a way to make him sit, to make him down when he feels like he doesn't want to. And that's really important because Arrow's gonna learn throughout the training that every time we say sit, he must sit. It's the only possibility. Every time we say down, downing is the only possibility. It's literally the only thing that can happen after he hears that command, right? Because we reinforce it negatively and positively. So here, you're gonna see what escape and avoidance learning looks like in the context of the down command. Down. Good, good down. Okay. Failed. Horrible, unacceptable. Unacceptable behavior. He just walks and pisses at the same time. Down. Good. Good job. Here I'm in the driveway and I'm in the process of teaching Arrow the heel command, which basically means to walk right at my side. And he's about to get distracted by a smell in the air. I speed up, he gets out of position, pop, 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 pop. He escapes the pressure by getting back into the heel position. Now watch what I do. I repeat the exact same situation. So I speed up and I give him a chance, and then he avoids the pressure by quickly getting back into the heel position. Very nice, give him lots of praise, and then I mark and reward. That right there is negative reinforcement learning in action. Escape and avoidance. So now let's talk about how we go from this, just heeling in the driveway, low distraction environment, to this, heeling completely off a leash. How do we get dogs to sit down, come, even in very, very high distraction environments? Let's go ahead and get into that next. And I want to cover the huge mistake that most people make during that period of the training. The big mistake that everybody makes at this point here is they were training the behaviors in their low distraction environment, the living room, the backyard, their neighborhood, and they get away with using very low levels of pressure to negatively reinforce the behaviors, whether it's the recall or the sits, the downs or the heeling, whatever. But then when they bump up the distractions and they're maybe going to a new park they've never been to before, or a new area of the neighborhood they've never been to before, and there's all these crazy smells around, and you tell your dog to do something and they decide, I'm not gonna do it. The mistake people make is they use the same level of pressure, same little baby levels of pressure that they were using in their low distraction environment. And so as a result, your dog goes down this path and it's like, not too bad. That's not too bad. I can do that. And then they keep on going. Away to the other dog they go, or the smells or the people or whatever. And then you're like, oh my gosh, no, he is not listening to me. And then same level of pressure. And then before you know it, your dog is playing with the other dog and they just got this reward here, right? So the big takeaway here is that if you want your dog to perform a behavior, you want your dog to heel or sit or come when you call them or whatever, you need to make that behavior more reinforcing than any other behavior they could possibly do. And if you don't have much to give them, you're gonna have to use negative reinforcement. And the level of pressure that you use needs to exceed. It needs to be more aversive to the dog than what they anticipate the reward for going down that path might be. So in this situation, it would need to be something more like this. And even this isn't even very good. Like ideally, it's something like this. Right? This would make it very clear to the dog immediately that this is not the path to go down. You see, like you tell them to calm or whatever, and then decide, I'm not gonna calm, I'm gonna do it to that dog. And then right at the very beginning, it's like, oh, this is a terrible idea. Let's not do this and let's come instead. And so they stop doing this and then come back over here. So you need to gradually increase the distractions. You can think about it kind of like this, like you've got to graduate. Don't just go to New York, Times Square, Central Park, whatever, right off the hop, you start in your living room and now you're there. That's a lot. So do it one step at a time. Start out, okay, we're in our backyard. Okay, cool. Can I make it a little bit more distracting? Well, maybe if I put some of his toys out, that's pretty distracting. Maybe if I kind of move around a little bit and test him a little bit, maybe that's a little distracting. Maybe we can go to that new area of the neighborhood that we've never walked to before. Let's go there. Let's go to that park across the street that we don't really go to often. Let's go to that other park. Let's drive there. Okay, now let's go to that more busy spot. You see, you graduate. And your dog learns at every step of the way. Because the thing is, when your dog starts to go through this process, they're gonna make mistakes, and they should make mistakes if you're training. And so your dog will make some mistakes here, but then they'll get it. And they'll be like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. Got it. And then they go on to the next step, maybe make a little mistake. It's like, oh, got it. It's like the last time. And so you start building up this really strong pathway of going down here. When I tell you to do something, you just do it. And then you build up this really strong avoidance on this side here. You see, so you need to gradually increase the distractions and increase the pressure to reach escape and avoidance levels. So here's a perfect example of when you increase distractions, you also need to increase the pressure. This is a new environment that he's never been to before. It's very distracting for him. There are lots of dogs that come through this area, so there's lots of smells all over the floor, and Arrow loves smells. That's a very, very strong competing reinforcer that I'm actually working against in this environment. So I start out with a little warm up. Now we're doing some heeling. Now when he's in the heel position, he can't get out of the position first, but his nose also can't go to the floor. That's one of the rules of heeling. Now watch this. His nose dips to the floor to get a smell. I mark it with ah, and then he fixes himself. Then he goes right back. Look at how intense that was. I gave him a little tap on the e-collar, but that clearly wasn't enough. And so here, I'm gonna make it difficult on purpose. I walk right up along here where there's lots of smells. Ah. Boom, you can see that there, right? You see how I'm increasing the pressure? I have to make the behavior of heeling more reinforcing than smelling the smells. And I know a lot of trainers on YouTube do not show this stuff in the training. They cut it out of their videos. But this is what the training actually looks like. When you're in those higher distraction environments, more competing reinforcers all around, you're gonna need to increase the pressure. You can't use the same levels of pressure that you're using in your driveway, in your neighborhood walk. Like, it's not gonna work here. And the way to test it is you just look at the dog, right? If they make a mistake or you tell them to do something, they don't do it, and then you have to negatively reinforce it. If they go and make the same exact mistake again, you reached escape, but you didn't reach avoidance. And that means you need to increase the pressure. And the beautiful thing is that once you go through this process, the dog learns very quickly because you're being clear with them. It's like, oh, even in these situations, when you tell them to do something, I have to do it. It's like, yeah, you still have to do it. It's like, oh, got it. And then they just do it. A lot of people, when they see me or they see our members walking off leash, super high distraction environments, they're like, wow, this looks like magic. Like, it's impossible. There's no way I can do that with my dog. Like, this looks like magic almost. And it's not magic. It's just clear communication. Like, that's literally it. It's just using combination, positive and negative reinforcement in the training, being clear with the dog. Like, that's literally it. There's no magic formula to it. And the great thing is that once you've got this reliable control of your dog, the world really opens up. Like, there's so many more things you can do now, because when you tell your dog to do something, they just do it and you just trust them to do it. And the crazy part about this, and this is really important, is that once you go through the training process using a combination of positive and negative reinforcement, you don't just get reliable behaviors. They also just become the default. Sometimes people imagine like your dog, like especially through this process, they imagine like, oh, your dog's just living in a constant state of fear around you, and they're just afraid constantly around you of not doing the thing and fear. And it's just like, it's not how it is. Like, it's not how it is. Once you go through this process, you get to a point in the relationship where the agreement between you and the dog is so clear. Like, the dog knows exactly what you expect of them, exactly what they need to do, and you've got your end as well. So like, you are upholding your end of the agreement as well. Like, hey, when I tell you to do something, you got to do it. But I'm also gonna like take you a bunch of places, and we're gonna have a bunch of fun, and we're gonna play, and we're gonna run around. And I'm gonna give you a lot of freedom. But when I tell you to do something, you got to listen. So you see what I mean? Like, you've got this really strong agreement in your relationship, and you have that authority over the dog, of course. Like, the authority is important, because at the end of the day, your dog is completely dependent on you. Their safety is completely in your hands, so you need authority over them in the same way that you need authority over a 4-year-old kid, you see? It's the same thing, but you don't abuse that. Like, you're not just telling them to do stuff just because. Like, that would be not fair. Like, that's not cool. You see what I mean? It's this very, it's hard to explain, especially if you're in the beginning and you're still struggling. You're like, Miles, I can't even walk my dog. I don't even want to hear about it. Like, the experience, once you get to the end of how it feels living with your dog, is completely different. You get to the point where the dog they just trust you. They just listen. Like, they just understand that, like, hey, if mom tells me to do something, if dad tells me to do something, it must be important. I just do it. Like, it's nothing more than that. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but I just want to throw that at you, because the experience of going through this is not how it is forever. At the end, it just becomes the default. In the beginning, though, you have to teach them. All right? So anyways, hope this helps. Bye.